Long Island medium Theresa Caputo's family is in a state of turmoil, and she has made it clear to TLC that she will no longer be hosting her show. Theresa Caputo has decided that she is going to make major changes in the family, and she will return to the show only after these changes are complete. Theresa Caputo had always been a beacon of light for her fans, channeling messages from the other side and bringing comfort to those who lost loved ones. But what the world didn't see was the storm brewing in her own life. Behind the scenes of her beloved TLC show, Long Island Medium, her family was falling apart. It had started quietly. The cracks in her marriage with Larry had deepened over the years, unnoticed by the public. What began as small disagreements turned into regular arguments, the weight of which grew heavier with time. Theresa's world, which once revolved around helping others heal, now felt like a daily struggle for her own emotional well-being. Her children, too, had started to drift apart. Victoria, her eldest daughter, was going through her own identity crisis and found herself at odds with her mother's overwhelming fame. Larry Jr., her son, felt the pressure of being the son of the most famous psychic in the world, and resentment began to brew inside him. The tipping point came one rainy evening when Theresa, after a long day of readings, came home to a deafening silence. Larry was packing his things, his face unreadable. "I can't do this anymore, Theresa," he said, his voice cracking. "We've grown apart, and the show, it's not helping. It's just making everything worse." Theresa stood frozen, her mind racing. The world had always known her as the woman who helped others find closure, but who could help her find closure in her own life? The next morning, Theresa called TLC. It wasn't an easy decision, but she knew it was time for a break. "I need to take a step back," she said, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I'm going to focus on my family, on myself, and then maybe, when things are better, I'll return, but not until then." The news sent shockwaves through the media. Fans were devastated, but they understood. They had watched Theresa navigate the complexities of life on screen, but they had never seen her battle her own inner demons so publicly. In the months that followed, Theresa worked hard to heal the wounds in her family. She spent more time with Victoria and Larry Jr., listening to their struggles and offering her support, not as a medium, but as a mother. She took time for herself, rediscovered her passions, and started to reconnect with the person she had been before the fame. Larry, too, took time to reflect on his own feelings. The distance between them had been painful, but he realized that he had let the pressures of the spotlight overshadow their love. Slowly, they began to rebuild what had been broken, one small step at a time. One evening, as the Caputo family sat down for a quiet dinner, Theresa looked around the table. There was laughter again. There was love again. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Months later, when Theresa felt ready, she reached out to TLC. "I'm ready to come back," she told them. But this time, it's not just about the show. It's about telling a story of growth, healing, and second chances. And when the cameras started rolling again, the world saw a new Theresa, one who had faced her own struggles and come out the other side stronger. The Long Island medium was back, but this time, her family came first. And just like that, the world learned that even the most gifted souls need time to heal and rebuild. And sometimes, the greatest transformations come from within. However, it was an ordinary day in the Caputo household, but for Theresa, it felt like the universe was about to shake her to her core. As a renowned medium, she had seen countless souls cross over, delivering messages of love, closure, and healing. However, nothing could prepare her for the deeply emotional moment that would unfold during one of her most difficult sessions in Season 9. Theresa had been working with a family who had lost their young son, Jake, tragically in a car accident. The family had been struggling to move on from the sudden loss, and the grief was evident in every interaction. When Theresa arrived at their home, she immediately felt the weight of their sorrow. As she sat down with the parents, she closed her eyes, grounding herself to the energy around her. The air was thick with emotion, and the room seemed to quieten as if it, too, was holding its breath. Suddenly, Jake's spirit made contact, his presence so strong that Theresa could almost see him standing before her. Jake's message was not only for his parents, but it was also a message of healing for Theresa herself. He described moments from his life, happy and fleeting, but it was the message of love that would stay with everyone in the room. "Tell my mom I'm okay," Jake said through Theresa's voice. "She doesn't have to cry anymore." In that moment, Theresa was overcome with emotion. She had seen families find peace before, but this message was different. It was personal. As a mother herself, she could not help but imagine the pain of losing a child. The weight of Jake's words and the powerful love he shared with his family caused Theresa to break down in tears. Theresa, in her usual compassionate way, tried to hold it together for the family, but her emotions were raw. The bond between a mother and her child was a connection she knew all too well, and hearing the closure Jake offered was a reminder of the fragile nature of life. As the session came to a close, the parents embraced one another, their hearts a little lighter and their spirits lifted. As for Theresa, she took a moment alone, reflecting on the session. For all the joy her gift brought, it was moments like these that reminded her of the true weight of her work, the power of love, loss, and healing. Season 9 of Long Island Medium had witnessed many incredible moments, but this one, Theresa would carry with her always. It wasn't just about delivering messages, about being part of a journey that connected souls in a way that words couldn't fully describe. However, it was a cool fall evening in Long Island, the sky painted with hues of amber and lavender as the sun set behind the trees. A young woman, Sarah, was sitting in her small apartment, scrolling through her phone. She had always been a fan of Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, ever since she had seen her show. The idea that Theresa could connect with the departed fascinated her, and she often wondered what it would be like to have her questions answered by someone from the other side. That night, as Sarah sat in front of her television, watching an old episode of Long Island Medium, something strange happened. As Theresa began speaking to a client, Sarah heard a voice in her mind, a voice that sounded strikingly familiar, but Sarah couldn't place it. "Sarah," the voice whispered. It was soft, comforting, and undeniably real. Startled, Sarah looked around the room, but there was no one there. She shrugged it off, thinking it was her imagination, perhaps a trick of the mind. But then, as if in response to her thoughts, she heard the voice again, clearer this time. "Sarah, you have a question. Ask it." A chill ran down her spine. Was this Theresa? With a racing heart, Sarah thought for a moment. The only question that had been weighing heavily on her mind was about her grandmother, who had passed away several years ago. She had always wondered if her grandmother was proud of her. "Theresa?" Sarah asked out loud, half expecting no response. The air in the room shifted. It felt warmer, as if someone had just entered. And then, to her astonishment, Theresa Caputo's voice echoed in her mind, as clear as day. "I'm here. Your grandmother is here too, Sarah. She wants you to know she's proud. Every step you've taken has made her proud, even the ones that didn't seem perfect at the time." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. She had always felt that her grandmother's approval had eluded her, but now, hearing those words, a weight she didn't even know she was carrying lifted off her shoulders. But before she could respond, the voice of Theresa spoke again. "Remember, Sarah, love doesn't end with death. It transcends time and space. Your grandmother is always with you." With that, the connection faded. The room returned to its calm state, the evening sky now darkening fully outside her window. Sarah sat there, overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude. She realized she didn't need to be physically present with someone to feel their love, and sometimes, the answers we seek come when we least expect them. From that day forward, Sarah felt more connected to her grandmother than ever before, as though she could hear her voice in every moment guiding her. However, Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium, was sitting at a cozy restaurant in Long Island with her best friend, Maria, who had planned a double date to get her out of her routine. Theresa had never been a fan of blind dates, but Maria promised her this one would be different. "You'll see," Maria had said, grinning. "You might even like him." As Theresa walked into the restaurant, she felt her usual energy surge. People always said she had a unique vibe about her, but tonight, something felt different. The man sitting across from Maria was none other than Mark, an open skeptic about anything related to the supernatural. Theresa couldn't help but notice how he sat with his arms crossed, a slight smirk on his face as he observed her. He had been warned about who she was, but he wasn't convinced. "Nice to meet you, Theresa," Mark said, offering a polite handshake. "I've heard about your abilities, but I'm not exactly one to believe in that sort of thing." Theresa laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I get that a lot. Some people take longer to understand, and that's okay." She flashed him a warm smile, trying not to let his skepticism bother her. But deep down, she could sense his resistance, and it piqued her curiosity. As the evening went on, the conversation flowed smoothly. Mark tried to keep the conversation light, talking about sports and the latest movies. But Theresa could feel the presence of energy in the room that wasn't being acknowledged. The more she tried to connect with the conversation, the more she sensed a deeper story lying beneath Mark's calm exterior. After dinner, Theresa felt a strong urge to speak up. She had a feeling that something was off with Mark, and she needed to say something. "Mark," she began gently, "I don't mean to be invasive, but I'm picking up on something. I sense someone close to you who's passed, a male figure. He's standing behind you with a message." Mark looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "Seriously?" he asked, half laughing but more out of nervousness than amusement. Theresa nodded, unfazed. "I know it sounds strange, but it's how I work. He's telling me that there's a lot of regret about how things ended, and he wants you to know he's at peace now." For a moment, there was silence. Mark shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his arms no longer crossed. Theresa could see the subtle change in his demeanor, the slight drop of his guard. He wasn't laughing anymore. "Who is he?" Mark asked quietly, his voice trembling just a little. Theresa paused, her gaze softening. "He's someone you cared about deeply. I'm getting the sense that there was unresolved tension between you two. Something about not having enough time to make amends before he passed. He's telling you not to carry that weight any longer." Mark's face turned pale as he stared at Theresa, his skepticism now replaced with something else. Curiosity, maybe even fear. He didn't say anything for a long time, his thoughts clearly racing. Finally, he whispered, "My brother, we never got along toward the end. He passed away suddenly, and I always felt like I should have made things right." Theresa nodded, her heart going out to him. "He's here, Mark. He's saying that he forgives you, and he wants you to forgive yourself." There was a long pause before Mark spoke again, this time with a soft, "I didn't expect that, but I guess I needed to hear it." The rest of the evening unfolded differently. Mark's skepticism was still there, but he couldn't ignore the undeniable connection he felt. As they said their goodbyes, he thanked Theresa with a genuine smile, though his mind was clearly racing with the revelation. "I don't know what just happened," he admitted, "but I think I might need to rethink some things." Theresa smiled knowingly. "That's okay. Sometimes things happen when we least expect it." As Theresa walked out of the restaurant, Maria gave her a knowing look. "So, what do you think of him now?" Theresa laughed, the energy around her still buzzing. "I think he's got a lot to process. But you know what they say, everyone's a skeptic until they're not." And with that, Theresa Caputo left the night with one more person, reconsidering everything they thought they knew about the world beyond. However, it was a quiet evening in a cozy house nestled in Long Island, where Theresa lived with her daughter, Lily. Theresa, a warm-hearted woman, had always been a source of comfort and strength for her child. But there was an emptiness that lingered in their home, a sadness that neither of them could fully heal. Lily's father, Michael, had passed away suddenly just after her 16th birthday, leaving a void that seemed impossible to fill. For months, Theresa had tried her best to help Lily navigate the grief, but the pain of losing Michael was something neither of them had prepared for. Theresa often found herself praying for a sign, a way to reconnect with Michael and bring him back to their lives, even if only for a moment. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun began to set, Theresa was sitting on the porch when she felt a strong presence beside her. It wasn't the wind or the rustling leaves. It was something deeper, something familiar. Her heart skipped a beat. She knew it. Michael was near. Theresa closed her eyes and whispered softly, "Michael, if you can hear me, please let Lily know you're still with her." As if in response, a sudden chill filled the air, and a soft voice whispered through her mind. It was Michael's voice, so clear and real that it made her tremble. "Tell her I'm proud of the young woman she's become. I never wanted to leave, but I'll always be watching over her. She's my heart, Theresa. She always will be." Tears welled in Theresa's eyes, and she smiled through the sorrow. She knew this moment was a gift, a rare and beautiful connection from beyond the veil. The next day, Theresa took Lily to a medium, someone who had a reputation for helping people reconnect with their loved ones. Lily was hesitant at first, skeptical of anything that could bring back the father she missed so deeply. As they sat down in the small, dimly lit room, the medium, a woman named Clara, smiled gently at them. She closed her eyes for a moment before speaking, as though listening to something only she could hear. "Lily," Clara said softly, "your father is here. He wants you to know that he's been with you every step of the way. He saw you on your birthday, and he's been proud of you always." Lily gasped, her heart racing. "My dad? How do you know?" she asked, her voice shaking. Clara nodded. "He says you've grown into a strong and beautiful woman, and he's watching over you. He's telling me to tell you that it's okay to live your life. He'll always be by your side." Tears filled Lily's eyes as she heard those words. For the first time in months, a sense of peace washed over her. She knew, deep down, that her father was still with her, still loving her, still guiding her from the other side. Later that evening, as Theresa and Lily sat together on the porch, Lily turned to her mother with a smile. "Mom, I feel like he's here, like he's not really gone." Theresa hugged her daughter tightly, her heart full of love. "He never truly left, sweetheart. He'll always be with us." And in that moment, both mother and daughter found comfort in the thought that love transcends even the boundaries of life and death. Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.